AI automation is about to change forever. Most workflows today only do exactly what you tell them, nothing more. But agentic workflows are different. You basically give them an outcome, not just a flow, and they figure out the steps by themselves.
This is the difference between people who automate their income and people who stay stuck in a 9 to 5.
Things. So what does agentic actually mean? Well, if you've been building an end-to-end for a while, you know the drill. You drag a node, you configure it, you connect it to the next one, you test the flow, you hit an error, you read the error message, you figure out what went wrong, you fix it, and then you test it again, which means every API connection, every variable, every condition, that's all on you. But with agentic, it's a bit different.
Old AI automation, you had to build every single step yourself. Drag, connect, test, break, fix, repeat. Agentic AI flips the script completely. You describe the outcome you want in plain English, and the AI figures out every step to get there. You don't need to code, you just need to communicate clearly what you want built.
Instead of telling the system how to do something, you just tell it what you want in plain English. So you explain where the data is coming from, what needs to happen, and then where it should end up. The agent then figures out the rest. So just think about it like you're hiring an actual human developer. You wouldn't go in there and explain every single line of code.
Guys, I planned for a pretty long video packed with value, education, and real case studies, exactly the steps that we take and we teach our students to make real money. And you, my friend, haven't liked the video yet. May I ask why? Come on, give me some inspiration. Like this video, share with your friends and family, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Switch on the notification bell button, because this is just the beginning. We upload a new training every single day, and you want to get notified by YouTube. And the only way to do that is to subscribe to our channel, and make sure you ask your friends and family to subscribe as well. And in this way, you also help us get 10,000 subscribers in next 90 days. So go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. Let's go.
You would just explain the outcome that you're looking for, what problem you're trying to solve, what tools you're working with, and what the end result should look like. And then they'd go build it for you. So here's the thing. If you can't explain clearly what you want, then how could you expect a human or an AI agent to actually build that? So there has to be a clear scope. You don't need to know how to code.
But here's where it gets crazy. What happens when something breaks? That's where self-healing comes in.
Changes that I need you to understand in order to build an agentic workflow with me. So the first one is self-healing. This is probably the biggest and one of the coolest ones, because if you build something in end-to-end, when the workflow breaks, you read the error message, you tweak the node, you test it again, and if it breaks again, you repeat. So that whole debugging loop eats up a lot of time. Now, if you're building an agentic workflow, the agent handles that loop for you.
In the old world, when your workflow broke, you had to read the error, figure out what went wrong, tweak it, and test again. That loop eats hours of your life. Agentic AI handles that entire debugging loop for you. It reads the error, tests a fix, updates its own code, and only calls you if it's truly stuck.
Imagine every time your workflow broke, a smart assistant was sitting right there next to you, just reading the error, testing a fix, and only calling you in if it was really, really stuck. So the agent tries something, runs it, checks what happened, and if something broke, it figures out why, edits its own code, edits its own instructions, and updates everything so that it doesn't make that mistake again. And here's what's really wild. You don't have to read or write any of that code yourself.
Now imagine combining that with being able to build entire systems just by talking. That's next.
Is natural language control, but for real this time. Because you've probably seen tons of tools that let you build with natural language. Lovable, Bolt, Lindy, even end-to-end has an AI workflow builder. You basically type in a prompt, it spits out a workflow or a website. But if you've actually tried using these for production-ready systems, you know that usually they require a lot of manual cleanup or a lot of back and forth. They'll get you maybe 60 or 70% of the way there.
This new generation of AI doesn't just take your prompt and guess. It actually interviews you first, asks clarifying questions you wouldn't have thought of until months later. Who are the users? What happens if X fails? What tools are you using? Once it has all the answers, it builds the entire system and wires it into your tech stack automatically.
But this new generation, it feels a lot different. Instead of just taking your prompts and building, it first interviews you to make sure that it knows everything it needs. So it'll ask you clarification questions like we talked about before it tries to write a single line of code. It'll ask you questions like, who are the users? How many times should this run? What tools are you using? What happens if X happens? What should happen if Y happens? A lot of times when I'm working with these agents, they're asking me questions that I wouldn't have even thought of until a month later when we run into a problem. And then once it has all that information, it builds the systems and it wires it right into your own tech stack already.
But what about connecting to all your tools? Gmail, Google Sheets, CRMs. That used to be the hardest part until now.
and MCP integrations. So if you've built workflows in end-to-end, you know the pain of API authentication, headers, JSON bodies, query parameters. You spend half your time just reading API documentation and then getting the shape of the request to be right.
Quick pause here. If what I'm sharing is making sense and you're thinking, okay, but how does this actually work in a real system? I've put together a free training that walks through the exact structure and process we use. It's not theory, it's a behind-the-scenes walkthrough of how the system is set up, how the pieces fit together, and how most of the heavy lifting is already handled, so you're not starting from zero. If you want to see how it's structured and decide for yourself if it's a good fit, the link is in the description. All right, let's jump back in.
With agentic workflows, that pain pretty much disappears because you just say what tool you want to connect to. So, get my Fireflies transcripts and then push that into ClickUp and then send me a Gmail summary. All you have to do then is go in and grab your API keys and then the agent figures out the rest.
Headers, JSON bodies, query parameters, authentication. You used to spend half your time just reading API documentation. Now, you just say what you want to connect. Get my transcripts from Fireflies. Push them to ClickUp. Send me a Gmail summary. The agent reads the documentation for you and wires everything up automatically.
Because instead of you having to read those 10 pages of API documentation, the agent can just search the web or even go to the URL you give it and research it on its own. Now, MCP is basically like an app store for these agents. They're tools that are pre-wrapped up and documented so that agents know what's available and how to use each of them correctly. And if a tool doesn't have an MCP yet, then the agent can just, once again, go to the API documentation and then make the right request there.
All right, enough theory. Let me show you what the actual output looks like when you build one of these.
So just like that, in a matter of minutes, I have an automation built here in Claude Code that I can continuously hit and get as many leads as I want. If we go look at the actual output that it gave us when it was just testing out 10 leads to see if it worked, we can see that each of these have a name, an address, a phone number, a website. They've got rating, reviews, neighborhood, subject line, and then we have our actual outreach message, which is personalized for them and for us. You can see that they mention things like the 5-star rating or the 4.9 star rating from 714 reviews. And so obviously this was basically very minimal prompting.
In just a few minutes, this automation scraped real dentist leads in Chicago. Names, addresses, phone numbers, websites, ratings, reviews. But here's the money part. It also wrote personalized outreach messages for each one, mentioning their specific star ratings and review counts. Everything dumped straight into a Google Sheet ready to send.
So what we would do now is we would come back with natural language and say, okay, you know what? I don't actually want to limit it to just Chicago. Let's also search in California. Or we'd say the outreach messages aren't super personalized. Or you could say the outreach messages aren't really custom enough. Let me drop in a PDF of all the information about my business up at AI and incorporate that in all of your outreach messages. You could say, hey, I'm realizing that we don't have any emails. Could you actually incorporate emails into this automation as well?
This is the skill that businesses will pay you for, and it doesn't require a single line of code. Follow for the full breakdown. If you like this video, gently hit the like button. If you dislike this video, then share with your friends and family. Because whether you liked it or not, it could be helpful to your friends and family and your social media contact. And if you think we are doing our best to try and explain to you how you can change your life, and you want to watch the next video, then make sure you subscribe to our channel and switch on the notification bell button. And make sure you ask your friends and family and social media contacts to subscribe to our channel, switch on the notification bell button as well. This way, you will help us get 10,000 subscribers in next 3 months. To learn more money techniques, watch these videos, and we will see you on the next one.